Greetings and various assorted salutations. What we're looking at for today is kind of a tour of one of the old courses I just completed. We'll be taking a look at U.S. History 1, Fall 2021, the course build makeup. The purpose of this video is just kind of to look at the mechanical portions of this course from the learning management system perspective, which is, of course, Canvas. In this course, this was one of the first courses that I was running with the new template that I had helped develop for my school last spring. And so this follows kind of the template made from then. For those of you who are watching this as an example of how to build a Canvas course, I apologize. It has its mixed functionality. Anyways, let's start from the home page. Now, the way my course was configured, the home page was designed to be the jumping off point for everything for the student. The announcements up here would contain a lot of information about current events. So like right now, the top three announcements are end of course notice, course exit survey, and final exam. We did a computerized version this semester. Other functions. As we scroll down, the attendance checker is one of the tools that I've used a lot. And the purpose of the attendance checker is to take attendance. It gives students a chance to self-report on things, ask questions, things like that. We've seen continued success with that in my classes anyway, so I will be using it in future semesters. As you can see, it's locked down right now because I'm no longer using that particular form. I created a new version for spring 2022. Anyways, I had a goofy picture I couldn't resist. This feature is not a feature I ever completed. I put it together about a part of the way through, and then things got busy. And what the purpose of this was to create a kind of master assignment list. And the part of the reason why this gets abandoned with the Civil War is almost near the end of the course, is you can get all these details from the grades if you're an individual student. But no, so this feature I consider a failed feature. It required me to put in too much input directly for it to be useful, and it was basically just reorganizing materials that were already widely available from the home page. So I largely consider the master assignment list a failed project. Now, right off the bat here, the home page is designed to have everything. And so it has class syllabus, information about the course, meet the AI, classroom resources, assignment submission protocols, and other stuff. So like when we would click on, I don't know, let's click on this classroom resources. What this would do is this would take you into modules. And then it would shift you into the resource module. And essentially what the classroom resources were is it's a module that comes with the Canvas template, and then I added a number of pages to it. So like there's a number of things that were already included in there, and then I added like the U.S. History textbook, the glossaries, the geography tools. These are all assets that I developed in, I think, fall. Like the U.S. History textbook is a resource I developed back in fall 2021 or something. And so I've been reusing a lot of assets that have been used over and over. So like the U.S. History textbook, the e-text, these are materials I've already developed. Of course, a shameless plug for my YouTube channel, things like that. But no. Assignment submission protocols. This page I don't think was visited a whole lot, but it basically was designed, it's a module actually, that kind of goes over how do you turn stuff in. The students who pay attention to my class find it immensely annoying because I repeat myself constantly and there's a lot of redundancies and there's a lot of stuff written down because I think through writing, and so I developed like how to turn stuff online, how to turn stuff in on paper, things like that. And so I kind of overworded things and put it all in writing. And that was partially because the expectation is in the event that our courses had to go to remote for whatever reason, I wanted to make sure that my course was completely set up and completely operational and fairly predictable. Um, and that kind of is where that fits. The supply list is there. That's actually an announcement that I've been reusing for at least 2 semesters. I don't have a lot of changes in my supply list, to be honest. But let's see here. And then all the modules for the course are posted here, or all the units, excuse me. The welcome course setup is kind of designed to introduce the course and set up the student for learning in this course and set up materials that they're going to need for the course. Like the entrance survey, the welcome access check, setting up your notebook. These things are designed to help you set up things like Microsoft Office, Google Drive, your school Google Drive account, and make sure that you understand how to access the textbook as you need it. The virtual systems check is particularly notable for that. It actually is a Google Slides assignment that takes the student through all the steps of making sure things are set up, especially since this was a fall semester. And just because you've been issued a computer doesn't mean you've gone through all the steps to make sure it's ready for your use. Now the welcome week, the week 1 stuff, is the only one that links directly to modules. And that's partially because I discovered later on that this unit page is more useful. So let's take a look at one of these unit pages. So when you click on this, it takes you to a page that I created that kind of organizes the resources. And part of the reason why I went this way is, well, I've developed a lot of materials, or I'm in the process of developing a lot of materials. I wanted to make sure that I had everything in one area. Now, a number of teachers use modules, and you can actually access everything from modules, but I found that I need a bit more structure, and the students benefit from this. And if you watch my future builds for spring 2022, you'll see that I've expanded on this considerably. So right off the bat, you've got this little blurb introducing the unit, a picture. I was in a silly mood at the start of the school year. And then it has announcement links. And I posted these. And basically, the announcement links, I'll just show you one of them. It's the same idea. I've pretty much built a model to work off of, and there's some minor refinements throughout the semester. But no, because see, like in this original announcement, I just kind of have welcome aboard, that kind of thing. But what I discover later on is, gotta get to the right page. Let's see here. See if I can find a better example. Eventually, what I just start doing is posting the weekly agenda and what assignments are due this week and what you should be working on. And so this is kind of a rough approximation. I used announcements as a way to tell people what's going on for the week, because what I discovered with students in the previous semesters is just because you teach them one way to do things, that doesn't mean that's the way they get them done. And so I had some students who'd go through modules, I had some students who would look at the announcements, and then I had some students who they would completely ignore all these pages and whatnot. And instead, they would just look up on the board when I projected this on the board, and they'd only pay attention there. Those students did okay, except when they were gone, which was problematic. And the reason why I'm able to tell you these kind of details is I know. The way this course was configured, I was able to track data usage and how students were accessing and using the Canvas course. And what I observed is, and I use this data in the future semesters, but I found students who are using announcements, the ones who are using this unit page typically did better because it has more structure, I think, from what I saw. But no, so I had what was going on for the week, direct links to where we're going, things like that. Scrolling down further, I put together a master checklist for the unit, and this is kind of why I didn't really care about the master checklist, because I already had this list, and I realized I was just copying and pasting this list from here, and you can just go to the home page and get a much more concise build by going to each unit and getting the list. I have my resource pages here, testing information, test review materials, and then some kind of general resources that are basically just pages pulled from the classroom resources section, including the classroom resources module link. The idea of these unit pages was to create a one-stop shop for every unit so that if you were gone, you could get into it, or if you wanted to look back at what we'd done in the course. And for the most part, pretty much everything in the course is more or less the same. I mean, we don't see a whole lot of change in the constructions of things. I mean, we can jump to the Civil War, and you can see it's more or less the same setup. Assignment checklist, resources and whatnot, things like that. The other thing that I ran in this course was the virtual museum, which is here. And that was a project-based learning activity where I had students building a museum panel for a virtual museum. I need to work on the virtual museum. I've got all the panels. I just need to sort through them and start putting them into the virtual museum that I'm building. But you can see here, I have a timeline of what the various assignments, because it's broken down into steps, because to do any complicated task, you should break it down into steps. I have resource pages like how to cite sources, the writing manual, how to set reading levels, what choices you have for panels, some information that you may not need but might be interesting. And so that's kind of one of the things you see. But now the course is entirely built to run from the home page, just bouncing back and forth between the home page and these unit pages or the announcements. You could also this semester I left the modules section accessible. However, I observed students that exclusively use the modules section frequently miss things. And I think part of that stems from when I built the course, I didn't really organize the modules section very well. It wasn't really one of my main focuses. But you can kind of see it just is, I don't know, it's just kind of this, things are just mashed together with very little organization. And so that kind of made things a bit more difficult in said class. So one of the other features I had in this course was in the Federalist era, we did a kind of layered curriculum activity. That's, you can look up what that is. You're not going to learn about it from here. I'd never run layered curriculum before, and so I tried to construct it in a way that streamlined it as much as possible. And so by doing that, what I did is I sorted everything into these modules based on how many points they were worth. The basics of how I ran it, which by no means is probably correct, but essentially each of the different layers, each of the different activities was worth a certain amount of points, and your job was to figure out how to make it add up to 100 points. I like the activities. I mean, you had some interesting ones like build a newspaper, make a magazine cover or a picture book, or what if. The crossword was the single most popular activity that students did. But you have flashcards, diaries, making maps. So I like the idea of these different activities, and in theory I could pick it up and drop these into future courses. I could reuse them for the Federalist era when I do teach it again, but when I designed this stuff, I designed it generic enough that all I have to do is indicate what topic they're supposed to focus on, and they can just use this as is. So. Oh, there's also a hidden section of the course called the Other Stuff section or module. And basically, this was a section of the course where I would dump things, stuff like that. and I don't know, things that were things that are either goofy, silly, or I haven't really had a chance to fiddle with them a whole lot. Um, let's see here. What else was in here? There was a retake option on tests. This feature, I was still building this and refining this, so it's still a work in progress. I think I've got it better running in the future semesters. And then there's a module for the virtual museum. Of course, there's the syllabus here. Though based on data analysis, I observed that very few students, if ever, looked at the syllabus. It was covered in the first part of the course, and so I feel like a lot of students looked it over and were like, "Yeah, I think I got this," and we're done. Um, that is kind of one of the things I've observed with the courses is when you make the information available, that's good, but you have to accept that people may not actually read instructions or consult things, and so that's okay. And the beauty of this is a lot of the assets I developed this semester, even though for a course I'm not teaching in the spring, I can reuse a lot of these assets. Also, I've written a lot of the materials in here in such a standard format that they were able to be cross-used across different courses. Um, Overall, the takeaways that I kind of had with the course is it's nice to have all the different ways to access the course. I think I needed to kind of make it more clear cut. I need to focus more on making sure that it's very clear what needs to be done next on the course. Um, because if you dive into modules really doesn't give you an indicator of what's going on in the course. It just kind of it's everything. And a lot of students complain in exit surveys and whatnot that they're easily overwhelmed. Um, I would also observe that they're also easily not prone to reading instructions or asking for help. But that's human nature. People do not like asking for help. I know I don't. But in the grand scheme of things, I'd consider the course's operation very successful from a mechanical standpoint. Things worked fairly well and fairly consistently. So I'll stop there and I guess until later.